Okay, so third attempt at a what if? I mean, I'm trying. Shit's kind of fucking up, but let's see how this goes. What if Danny Phantom trained Deku? Now, what the fuck am I on for this? And a simple change that, if not seen there was a movie about an asteroid coming and crashing into the world, bullshit like that. After that event, Vlad was left in space, and I can't remember if he came back or not. So, in this timeline, you know, a portal in the ghost zone opened in space because space ghosts. Not the weirdest thing to be written, but okay. Random portals of the ghost zone would open on Earth. Makes sense. Why not in space? Sometimes people die in space, so yeah. Vlad didn't know, but he enters a portal, falls, just starts traveling through the ghost zone. Another portal opens and he goes through. Vlad Plasmius lands in this world that he's not familiar with. He sees that hella people have hella powers, but there's no ghosts. You know, he does inadvertently bump into this one woman. You know, she's crying because she found out her boyfriend Hasashi was fucking her best friend Mitsuki, and you know he got her pregnant. And yeah, oh yeah, that's right. In this one, Bakugo is the son of Hasashi and Mitsuki, rather than his regular dad. So his you know explosion quirk is no longer explosion, rather than just you know sweat ignition, I guess you can say. As with his sweat, it'd still be sweating similar, but not nitroglycerin. He could still shoot out flames from his hands and mouth, but you know, if he wants, he throws his sweat. After a while of it being oxygenized, I think that's the right word. It would then go like a little fireball. Kind of fun, but dangerous. And that's just Bakugo. Now, Vlad Plasmius, my guy. He himself is, upset with how he's lived his life, and, he thinks he's kind of a shitty human being, but, he doesn't think someone like Inko, who he can just tell is a good person, should not be feeling like how he does. So, he does his best, I, you know, 2 months go by, and Deku, boom, he's in the womb. As, 9 months go by, baby Deku's born. Katsuki, he's about, you know, 3 months older than Deku. Not that much, not that different, but yeah. I don't care when their birthdays are, I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm changing it, but in this timeline, it don't matter. But no, when Izuku is born, he was already born with his powers. Vlad Plasmus would occasionally, burp up a ghost sense, and he would be on guard, and the only other person in the room would be Inko. So he's confused until, he realized Inko was pregnant, and, you know, every now and then Inko would also just, like, burp up the ghost sense, which, she was confused at until Hasashi saying, "You're pregnant." Not Hasashi, but Vlad was saying, "You're pregnant." Okay? Yeah, you're pregnant. How do you, he burps up the ghost one, saying because of that, he then shows her his ghost form. She does not freak out, actually. She's just like, whoa, what a quirk. And Vlad's just like, about that. He then comes clean that, I don't think I'm from your world. Because y'all, like, I've not been able to find anything on a guy named Danny Phantom. Y'all never heard of him? nothing. Not even here. Like, I've researched in America, and your guys' America does not have Danny Phantom. So I was confused. You know, she has to kind of not believe him until Vlad actually shows that he's built a ghost portal. And he creates a machine, the two travel through, and, they actually go back to Vlad's world. Now, granted, he was able to, figure out a way to have his ghost machine travel from one portal into the ghost zone and then kind of hyper jump itself to another ghost portal, and that would be Fenton Works, and, boom, Fenton Works. Now, of course, Jack and Maddie and Jasmine are gone, but Sam and Danny, they were about to get busier when, Vlad shows up. Danny's instantly on guard, so is Sam, and, once they see the woman, they're confused. And, Vlad is saying, we need to talk. As, Danny then hears what happened. He's surprised. Inko, she's smiling at Danny, thinking he's, an excellent young man and all this good noise. As, Vlad, he then, due to his elder age, has shown signs of, his health declining, and due to unforeseen, radiation poisoning in his human form that was kept at bay due to his ghost form, but once he activated his ghost form again, it kind of, reactivated, and now that he's no longer in his ghost form, yeah, no, Vlad's dying, and that's kind of why he's here. He kind of knew, and he asked Danny to train Deku, his son Izuku Plasmius, because, Inko was wearing the ring, so, yeah, Danny, of course, is conflicted until, Inko asks nicely, and Danny realizes that they're not even from his world, and he's confused. He's conflicted at first, so, he has to tell his parents, which, Vlad was just like, yeah, I don't know if it's okay for me to be here, my guy, so secret, yes. Sam, she's nudging Danny, saying, you should totally do it, They should go explore the ghost zone, They leave a note saying that they'll be back. They're going exploring. They go to My Hero Academia's world. Danny notices how everything is much more different, and, you know, we time skip 2 years. Vlad is still alive, and, he was there for Deku's early childhood. Jack and Maddie, once they found out about Vlad having a child, they were completely happy for him. They were ecstatic for him. They were, hey, welcome to fatherhood. As, Vlad saying, I'm dying though. Ooh, right? Inko saying, I've come to peace with it, is, Izuku has already shown, his ghost powers, but he doesn't have a ghost form. Rather, you know, glowing green eyes. Sometimes his hair flares up when he gets emotional, but, he still flies, he shoots those ectoplasm beams, he can use ice, eye beams, he'll be able to do the clones, etc. It all just depends on the training with Danny. And, we're time skipping the 14 years, so, things are going as they would be at high school. And, Deku's quirk was analyzed as just ghost. They didn't really care too much about it, but yeah. Rather than shoot out ice beams, he just showed that, he can drop the temperature of things, which is something ghosts have been known to do in rooms. He can phase through walls, turn invisible. He doesn't show his flight ability, but, Inko knows, and the two know that it's not a quirk. So, yeah, it's just his DNA. However, there is something hidden within Izuku that neither him, his mother, nor Vlad could have thought of. They're just thinking, oh, he got the ghost powers. Cool. Inko, of course, thought she was, She was upset because she didn't think she got much, like Izuku got much from her. Granted, green hair, green eyes. Yeah, that's her boy, but she felt a little bit left out. Well, that was for a little bit, of course. As, you know, Deku's quirk actually manifested, which completely separate from his ghost one. Now, was it Inko's telekinesis? No, unfortunately not. Which, it made Inko sad until she realized that the quirk that Deku got was, her mother's quirk. Which then kind of made her happy because, you know, her and her mother, like, they had a strong bond, but she died when Inko was still in, high school, so she never got to see Inko graduate, and, it's one of those things that she said she was okay with, but it did affect Inko not having her mom at her graduation. But no, so in case you're wondering, what is this almighty quirk that Deku has? Yes, regular show laugh, my guy. No, so Deku's quirk that is inherited from his grandmama. I'm stalling at this point, but I'm taking a drink too. Float. What? You heard me. Float. Now, does that mean? Yep. Inko is the daughter of Donna Shimura in this one. So it was Inko Shimura, you know, but Plasmius now, my guy. And here's the thing. It's not just Deku floating. You can make other things float. Not like telekinesis, but kind of like telekinesis. But still not like zero gravity due to the fact that they retain their, weight, and he can't make anything float that he can't himself physically lift. It's one of those, like, once he lifts it up, it's just the effects of gravity no longer affect it. He could then, hit it at high, like really, really hard and send it to one direction, or, just toss it in the air and undo his quirk and let fall damage do the rest. The assist from gravity. Now, this kind of surprises Inko, but they call it a half and half. Half ghost, half float. Which, Deku took this as an excuse to always use his ghostly ability to, be levitating and floating off the ground, but never actually using the quirk float. Now, it's not that he doesn't use it. He will use it for his hero work, but it's just his ghost powers are literally what he was born with. It's mutation. That was the thing. His ghost powers are considered mutation due to the fact that, it's always with him. It's not an on or an off switch. He's technically half ghost, which they're kind of confused at because Deku don't have a heartbeat. Kind of confused the shit out of them. Which, Vlad is just like, fuck. I forgot to mention that. you know, Danny's just like, what? Yeah, when we're in our ghost forms, we don't have a heartbeat. That would have been useful information to know. Well, I mean, it's not like you check your own heartbeat when you're a ghost. Danny is just like, true. So, it was weird because, Deku is alive, but his heart doesn't beat. It doesn't need to, in a sense. It still pumps blood and everything, but it's not due to, his heart beat. It's just due to the ectoplasm. His blood is kind of like ectoplasm, too. His goose DNA kind of circulates the energy around him. So he still needs to eat and sleep like a regular person. It's just, you know, he's not really dead or alive, in a state of undead, if you will, thus giving the proper name of ghost. Well, you know, Bakugo thinks he's the greatest because of his, magnificent fire quirk, which, once Deku, like the teacher says, Deku's also going to, UA, rather than set off explosions, Bakugo's just like, ball of fire. Kind of like Azula. Which, just for the sake of hilarity, his flames are blue. Why not? But are they blue like Dobby's flames? No. They're blue due to the glycerin sweat that is just reacted. Which, by extension, also releases a smell. When Bakugo uses his quirk, it smells sweaty, nasty. It smells like a dirty gym locker, if you will. Which, kind of disgusting, but his flames do burn really, really hot. So, yeah. Which, Izuku, he's just scowling at Bakugo. Because, he's just saying, yeah. Your mom's a whore. This is when Bakugo gets pissed. Everyone's just like, it's about to get real. As Bakugo, he rushes in, about to throw the fire hand when, Izuku just, Arctic blitz this guy. He's standing frozen in the classroom, all but his face. Izuku, his hands then, glow green as, he proceeds to punch Bakugo in the face and send him flying through the window. Of course, everyone was shocked that, Deku punched him so hard that not only did he break out of his ice prison that Bakugo couldn't break out of, but, he sent him through the window and they're on the third story floor. Of course, they're all thinking, shit, he's going to die. As, this is when they notice something strange. There's still this green thing on, Deku's fist as, he pulls back and, Bakugo comes back in. The ectoplasm that he made is acting kind of similar to Hisoka's bungee gum, if you will. But, it's ectoplasm. It's just being sticky. Kind of nasty, but still. No, he pulls him back in and, grabs Bakugo's face and proceeds to slam him into the floor. This knocks out Bakugo and, Deku just casually lifts him up and, sets him in his desk as, he looks at the teacher and saying, I feel like you did this on purpose. As the teacher's just looking at Izuku. I would, Deku's scowling at him. Yeah, don't lie to me. You wanted this to happen, didn't you? So, the teacher's just like, ugh. He tries to leave, but Deku, he just vanishes, turning invisible, but leaves. The Sludge Villain incident doesn't really happen. So, Sludge Villain still gets caught by All Might, and, the 10 months of training still happen. Deku, he no longer trains with Danny, because Danny and him has pretty much shown him all he could. He even went into the Ghost Zone to train more, and to the surprise of, Danny, any ghost power that, Deku was able to, experience, he was able to copy. He's already got his barriers. He was evil able to manipulate the weather, but it caused him to need to expel a lot of his ghost power outward and into the environment itself rather than being able to just to straight up manipulate it. So, kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like Sasuke when he has to use Kirin. He blasts the fireball into the water. Fireballs into the sky, adding his chakra, and then gathers lightning itself. Shit like that. However, with, ghost energy. But I digress. As, Izuku, he's trying to learn, Danny's ghostly wail, and he goes to Dagobah Beach to proceed to clean it. Of course, he meets All Might there, and All Might, he was with this special person, and, he was kind of confused on why a young girl would be with, this one guy with All Might, but, you know, he sees they both have blonde hair and blue eyes. So, you know, Deku, he's stealthy right now, so he's invisible, but intangible too, so, he just casually floats down as, he says, All Might, is this your daughter? Because, they both fleep out and freak. Because, they didn't see him, they didn't sense him, none of that. As, Izuku's just like, huh, nice to meet you, I'm Izuku Plasmius. She's just like, I'm Melissa Shield. And, Deku's just saying, so, I didn't know you were All Might's daughter. She's saying, he's my uncle. Oh, really? He's looking at the blonde hair and blue eyes, saying, huh, interesting. As, he's saying, well, I'm gonna be over there training. As, he flies off. All Might is confused, and that's right, Melissa has one for all. Since I feel like he is supposed to be, she's supposed to be All Might's niece, and he needed a successor, and, he was friends with David. I never understood why he wouldn't go to David Shield's daughter. Maybe he was feeling protective, but I feel like, that would have been a good choice for him. Someone who's that smart, who could have figured it out. Someone who could have made gadgets to help support her body when she couldn't handle one for all. So, oh well. Anyway, here's the fun part with, Deku meeting Melissa Shield, our ninth user of One for All. Is that, she's curious about the boy. Now, is this going to be a Deku Melissa ship? Kinda. But not really. It's gonna be tricky to explain. But let's begin. Anyway, as time progresses during the 10 months, Deku had cleaned up over, 70% of the beats actually. Because, All Might having a time limit and Melissa not being able to use One for All as, powerful or as often as, Izuku would, and, once he figures out to use full cowling, but she's only at 2%, so, yeah. And she does use full cowling to help clean the beach, but even then, regular Izuku in this one is much, much more adept. Of course, this causes a bond to form between the two, and they get along pretty well, but see, there's this thing that Melissa has called an overprotective All Might that, is gonna kind of fuck this up for them. I ain't even gonna be mad though. So no, of course, All Might had to ask Izuku about his quirk and how he can do all these things, and he explains that his dad's quirk was, a ghost type, which let him do pretty much what a ghost does. And his mom had a quirk of telekinesis, and though he didn't inherit his mom's quirk, he seemed to inherit his grandmother's quirk, which was something similar, and yeah. All Might wanted to know, but Deku's saying, unless All Might's gonna tell him his quirk, he should stop asking. All Might was taken back by this when Izuku's saying, this is his, family he's asking about. All Might doesn't have, his business out there for people to see, and Deku was gonna do something similar. He was just gonna say, the ghost quirk, the ghost part is from my dad, but the other thing I got, y'all don't gotta worry about that. That's for me to know and y'all to find out. Of course, All Might wasn't too thrilled about this, but grew to respect it, and Melissa just thought it was kind of cute, but All Might did not like being disrespected, so yeah. This is where things get kind of slightly sad for Izuku because, Melissa was going through recommendations, and Deku would still have to do, his regular, entrance exam. But Him and Melissa had exchanged numbers, and the two had gone to talk and, gotten closer. Of course, it got into, the moment where, you know, Deku would ask out Melissa, and Melissa was at the time, cooking dinner for, Uncle All and her father. Her back was turned when, All Might sees the text, and, you know, he responds saying, "No, I would never want to date someone with a creepy quirk like yours, and, it's better just to be friends." He hits send, and, he then hits delete, and, once Deku sees this message, he just says, "Oh, okay then." He's trying to hide the fact that my man's hurt, but nah, this hurt my man. He's sad. Actually, too, yeah, yeah, nah. Anyway, Izuku, he feels hurt by reading that. He thought, maybe Melissa wouldn't judge him from his quirk. You know how other people have, it is kind of a strange quirk to have, you know, but they don't know it's not a quirk. They think it's a quirk, but it's not a quirk. And, even if Deku could explain to them that it's not a quirk and they believed it, the whole, like, how his dad got into the world, oh my god, trying to explain that, and, that there's another multiverse, Deku realizes that half of him technically never should have, existed in this world. You know, and he kind of has to conflict with that after this. So the very next day at the entrance exam, you know, Melissa does see Deku, and, Deku doesn't wave at her. He is visibly, in a darker mood. Like, there's no smile. His, emerald green eyes that used to glow with a bright, ghostish, luminescent green has this dark, ominous green. Like a demon is watching or lurking beneath, or some sort of beast. Something that's just waiting to pull you under. That's the thing that's lurking behind Izuku's eyes. As he just continues. He doesn't talk to Melissa. She tries to text him, but, you know, she was surprised when, you know, she was left unseen. She looked back at her messages and she's trying to figure out what could have happened between, them to see if anything happened, because Deku's message of saying, "Oh, okay, I guess that's okay," as it seemed out of nowhere, but, she just doesn't know. She brings this up to All Might, and he's just like, I don't know. Maybe he's just jealous of your power. Don't worry, Melissa. Uncle Almost here for you. He loves you. I'm gonna stop that. That voice was too creepy for me. Anyway, so yeah, All Might, he's just trying to play cool. Like, I don't know why this guy you've been talking to so frequently would try and ghost you. No pun intended. But yeah, Izuku, he doesn't trip, but, this girl who was very nervous, very timid, she has this, somewhat adorable white hair. It's kind of short and like a pixie's haircut, I guess you could say. She's timid, she's scared, she's thinking, I shouldn't do this. So, she turns around and, she tries to back away. She bumps into Izuku. Now, before she could fall back, Izuku had already, sunken into the ground, and having one arm tangible was holding her. He then, rises out of the ground, And, she's confused on how he's doing this. What kind of quirk does he have? How did he, sink into the ground but not, you know, still older, I guess? How'd she not fall if he was in the ground? Deku, to summarize it, he's just saying it's his dad's half of his quirk. She's just like, oh, that's so cool. So, what's it called? And Deku's just like, oh, ghost. Her eyes widen, and she's saying, my quirk is called poltergeist. Deku, you know, he's surprised, A slight gleam in his eye comes back. Not that life is flushing back into him, but, he's curious. So, he asks for her name. She says Reiko. Reiko Ionami. As you know, Izuku smiles and he's saying he's Izuku Plasmius. She's saying that's an interesting last name. And, he's saying his dad is, not from Japan and his mom is, though. But, overall, pretty nice man. She smiles and, the two walk in. Melissa, she didn't know why, but it bothered her. It bothered her to see, Izuku with somebody like that. And I'm back. So, yeah, Melissa felt disturbed to see, Izuku talking to this girl. She had to eventually push this feelings aside because, she had to do her, recommendation exam, which her and Momo instantly hit it off, and they become good friends. And Melissa can do roughly 6% of one for all over her 10 months of training, due to her body still being more, you know, adjusted to physical smarts, so it was more of a building up the body to have it ready for one for all, and then, getting one for all and then training with it. So she went from 2% to 6%, which is still a pretty decent increase, my guys. So, yeah. However, Izuku still gets first place with a grand total of, 200 points even of villain points. Now, granted, he is pulling out saves when, someone's about to be crushed with a robot. He just touches them. They didn't even realize because the robot will go through them because they're now intangible. So, Izuku, once the robot finishes its swing, he just shoots out a laser. Robot's dead. He gets the points for both, saving and killing the villain. This surprises a lot of, UA teachers, so they're looking at Izuku, they're, looking at his things, and they see his quirk is, called Ghost. And they're not gonna lie, they're interested more in this kid. There is a teacher there in particular who's just like, huh. He shows some promise, but his quirk. As he's seeing all the things that Deku can do, he's just thinking, like, is it a mutation? Why is it letting him do emitter-based techniques? Kind of confused. Nezu, too, he's just like, it's very interesting. According to this, it's saying that his own father had a quirk similar to him. And that he seemed to have developed his grandmother's quirk, too, alongside this. Which, they're confused. Nezu's saying, yes, apparently she was a pro-hero. He looks at All Might and, he looks at Aizawa, and he's saying, don't tell this to All Might, but that child is the grandson of his master, Nana Shimura. Aizawa's eyes widen. You're serious? Yes, and I'm quite interested on what kind of person, this Vlad Plasmius person was. His quirk Ghost must have been quite powerful. Since Inko didn't inherit her mother's, float ability, but rather telekinesis, it seems kinda interesting. Nezu and Aizawa just intently focus on Izuku as, yet again, 0 Pointer emerges, and this time it is Reiko rather than Oraka, so You know, Izuku goes, saves her by making her intangible. The rock falls completely. He lifts her up still, and she's normal. As he does the ghostly wail to destroy the 0 pointer and, you know, pick up Reiko bridal style and take her to recovery girl. Now, Reiko, the entire time, she's blushing. So, she's just staring at Izuku and, she just says, wow. Deku's confused. Why, what? As, she turns around, she's saying, oh, I'm sorry, I was just thinking in my head. Thinking in your head, what? She's blushing and, she's saying, you have really pretty eyes. Deku, he's just like, ah, this might sound kind of fast and very forward, but can I have your number? Reiko, she smiles as, she's nodding. She's saying, yeah, sure. As, he just puts it as Ghost Girl Cutie. As, she's just like, what? As, she covers her face. It's just like, you think I'm... Deku's just like, yeah. As, she saves Deku's number as Ghost Boy Cutie. As, Deku smiles, she smiles, and, they walk off. Of course, Melissa catches Deku when he's leaving the gate, and Deku, conflicted, but he relents and talks to Melissa. Melissa asks him what was up, and, Deku's just like, uh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you want to be seen with me and my creepy quirk. Melissa's just like, what does your quirk have to do with this? Deku's just like, did you forget what you said? So, she's just like, what did I say? Deku's just like, oh, it's like that then. Melissa's confused even more. No, Izuku, seriously, what did I say? So, did I say something about your quirk? Deku's just like, you texted me it. She's saying, I didn't text you anything about your quirk. And Deku's just like, legit, just look at our conversations. Is, he's kind of annoyed, so, he just blips out of there going invisible, and she can't see him, so, she runs off looking for Izuku, but, when she's gone and out of sight, Deku, he just, turns off the invisibility. He never left. He just stayed there, sad, confused. Why was she acting like she didn't know what she did? Did she not get, like, how sensitive that kind of is to him? He was pretty sure, like, he had stated, like, his past in dealing with, the glares of people because of his, core type and what it was called. Of course he wanted to be a hero to, offset this, and, he was just thinking it was the best way to do it. He looked up to All Might, and, he's thinking he could have done it. Of course, as time progresses, he's starting to become more and more self-conscious about his quirk, and, you know, that whole creepy thing kind of fucked with him really bad. He tried to keep a good face about it, but, it hurt him deep down, and then Reiko happened. Reiko was able to not fully ignite a spark within him, but, blow on, on the, like, charcoal and see that there's still some living cinders, if you will. It's weak, but it's growing. So, yeah, nah. Inko, she meets Reiko after, a week of waiting and, just constantly texting. Reiko, she was honored to meet, Inko and Melissa. Her and Deku still have not, had a chance to text each other because, you know, All Might is insistent, that it would solve itself, and, maybe he's just overreacting to something. But, Melissa's insistent that, she's looked through her phone conversations, and there was nothing about his quirk. She has no idea when it would have been. She's just rereading, and, the moment that it got weird is when he was just like, oh, okay then. Yeah, and then she's just like, she does not know what happened. she doesn't see the part where it would be like you and your creepy quirk. It was just, you know, do you want to go out? And then, oh, okay then. And she's confused because, she never read the first one, and then there was a second text. She's thinking maybe it was sent to the wrong person, but, she doesn't know. Her heart kind of hurt because, when she read the first one, she instantly thought yes, but then she read the second one and got confused. And, yeah, of course, to her surprise, when, Deku shows up to class 1A, there was a girl with him that was just standing outside the hallway that, Deku gave a kiss on the forehead, and she walked off to her own separate classroom. Deku would sit in class 1A as, Reiko would still be in class 1B. I'm not gonna change it just for the ship, it's just more entertaining to have Melissa in class 1A than Reiko. And I'm bumping out Higakure due to the fact that I didn't see any potential in her. I hate that joke. Anyway, yeah, Izuku, he sits next to, Momo and Mina, who've been asking him about his quirk, and the main reason why Momo's there is because, she's asking for Melissa because Melissa knows that Deku doesn't seem to be open about himself. So, they're asking him about his quirk, and Deku just says, it's just a ghost quirk. It's nothing special. This is when Mama, who's been reading the script that Melissa had sent her, who was that girl you were with? Deku, he's just like, looks at Momo and he gives her a cold stare. And then he shuts it off as then he asks, what does that matter? With a slight annoyed smile on his face. He's just saying, I mean, I don't ask you about your personal life. Because, Momo, she's just like, I mean, you could. Deku's saying, okay then. Out of everyone in this room, which boy would you date? Which, Deku says it loud enough that, the guy's now, boom, staring at Momo. Instant hot seat. Momo's just like, I don't know. I've never met any of you on a personal level. Deku's just saying, exactly. So, to my annoyance, you trying to ask about my girlfriend without knowing her on a personal level? Yeah, and then all these questions. It feels like how you're feeling right now. Because, Mina and Momo decide to back off as Melissa's just like, fuck, I wanted to know. The class is still kind of up in the air about Izuku. I can sense there's, he has a seemingly zero bullshit tolerance, but yeah, Aizawa still gives him the ball to throw in, because he got first place. When he throws the ball, he gets, an easy 7,000 meters. That's right, 7,000. No one able to approach anything like that until Uraka with her infinity, but, Deku's just like, oh, cool. He's then just like, huh. As as I was just saying, what? Izuku just says, nah, it's just like, he sometimes forgets about his other half. They're like, what? He's just saying, he's just so used to his quirk, his ghost ability. Sometimes he forgets that his quirk functions similar to Uraka's sometimes, too. Which they were confused, and Deku explains the float aspect of his quirk. Which, as I was saying, so did you not use your full power then? Deku's just saying, I used my full ghost power, but when I think about it, wouldn't it just make the same sense as, he tosses up the ball in the air as it just stays up in the air, floating? Deku's saying, see? Everyone's kind of confused, like, what the fuck? Okay, come on, how does your ghost quirk gives you, several sub-quirks, and that's not fair? And now you're saying you also have another quirk that's actually not your ghost quirk? And, Deku says it's technically from his grandma, so there's not much he can do about it. Of course, they still bitch and complain, and, Mineta, who got last place, doesn't get kicked out. Which, Izuku's saying, damn, I was hoping that Reiko could have transferred in. Which, he does say this kind of out loud. Which, as I was just saying, isn't she from Class 1B? Do you have a relationship with her? Izuku's just like, I mean, we're friends? As, as I was just staring at him and scowling. Uh, uh, and this friendship of yours, was it before UA or was it during? Izuku's just saying he saved her during, the entrance exam. You know, she was under the robot and, he goes in, made her intangible, and, did his ghostly well. Which, as I was saying, that's not what I meant. After that, your guys' relationship, you know, focus on, the hero path or your own personal path. And Izuku's just like, a little bit of both. As I was just like, huh? And Izuku's just like, I feel like if I lied to you, you would find out still, so might as well just tell you the truth. It was a little bit of both. Izuku states, he had, recently been put down by someone who he thought he was really close to. You know, they managed to utter a few words that, kind of hurt his self confidence and how he viewed his quirk. Since it is legit a ghost quirk, he would, often get criticized at how villainous it was, and, he'd never be a decent hero. But, this girl who had a similar quirk, actually, he was just able to connect with her on an easier level. That was Reiko. Deku might have a more powerful version of her quirk, but, he believes that if he was with Reiko, he could, help mold her abilities more. Which, as I was just like, interesting. And this has nothing to do with the fact that you two are dating. Izuku blushes a little bit as, yeah, this couch is not comfy. I can't get comfortable anymore. As, Izuku's just blushing. He's just saying, I mean, a little bit of that, but no. As Melissa's just like, he's already dating someone? So, her heart, it sinks. As, yeah, our very next day is a special class where it's hero versus villains, but it is, class 1A versus class 1B. And the first match is Izuku with Melissa against Reiko and Onama. Oh, how fun. Now, before the fight starts, of course, Reiko and Izuku, they have their little alone time away from the classrooms. Of course, no one knows that they went off until, it's almost fight time. And, it is none other than Melissa who, turns the corner to see Izuku and Reiko exchanging, their tongues. Tonsil honky, multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4, I declare tongue war type shit. As it is a very intense makeout session for the two. As Riko's dress hero outfit, it really got Izuku, going. Since Deku's quirk is consistent with his, invisibility and tangibility, they needed something that would easily go with him without, his body just going through it. Since it's not as bad as Mirio's permeation, they were able to get better material for it, where it just naturally blends in with him and it won't fall off his body as long as it's on his body. Unlike other clothes, which, he could just, make him skin intangible and let the clothes just fall through. But no, not with his hero suit. This time his hero suit is like a somewhat skin tight, shirt, and his pants are like loose fitting, but yeah, it is a short sleeve shirt, and there is a big, V on the back for, his father, and a P, a DP, on the corner of his chest is, they're like, wait, what's that for? Is he's just saying, oh, the initials of his one of his, teachers back home. So, he's saying it was Danny Fenton, and his father's name was Vlad. Vlad Plasmius is, they soon realize that there's also a P on the side of the V, just hooked in, making it seem like it's one big letter. But no, as they're thinking, oh, that's kind of cute. As Izuku blushed when Reiko said this, and Izuku couldn't stop staring at Reiko, and she got blushing, they got blushing, the two got close to each other, and eventually Izuku just couldn't control himself as he proceeded to tongue battle Reiko for a good 5 minutes until Melissa she walks, turns the corner on them. She's saying, what the, as everyone soon then turns, and they soon realize, yeah, Izuku was gone, and so was Reiko. Getting the pair in trouble. Oh my god, no, it was so shitty. Aizawa gives Izuku detention, and, this is when, Vlad King was about to send Reiko to detention. Two is when Izuku's saying, wait, I'll take it. Don't get Reiko in trouble. It was, more me than her. I got my knee to pop on that. That felt pretty good, but it hurt like hell at the same time. As Deku, he admits that, he's the one who started kissing Reiko first and started complimenting her. He knows that, they're at school, so he wasn't going to do that far with it. It was just, he probably should not have been, kissing on school grounds. He apologizes, and All Might is just daggers at Izuku. He's thinking he would have done that to Melissa if it wasn't, for his interference. Which, Izuku's just like, the fuck do you want, All Might? Izuku, because he keeps on getting this off-putting feeling from All Might, he just does that, I'm gonna scratch the bottom of my eye with my middle finger. Just flick the eye booger towards you, in a sense. Flipping him off without flipping him off, if you will. So, All Might mad, but yeah. Anyway, the fight between, Izuku, Melissa Shield, Reiko, and Monoma will have to come in the next part. Due to the fact that it's already like 12:09, I'm tired. This needs to upload. And, I've already tried some Zen meditations. I have music playing. And, I'm just going to start drinking. That's probably not even the better solution. But, you know what? I still have some rum. And, fuck it. Y'all have a good one.